Good morning. I know I've been coming on here like relatively early in the morning, but today I'm a little bit not behind the eight ball. I just had things that I needed to do and I just couldn't. So, who is this woman talking to you? I am Weezy and I'm here to try to encourage you to use video for either your business or interests that you're interested in and different things like that. But I teach people how to use video in all that they want to do. And I just wanted to make a little shift there because I didn't like all that bouncy background. I kept watching it and it was distracting me. But anyways, if you don't know me, like I said, I'm Weezy and I share how to do video. And I'm going to just kind of dive right in today. Um, if you have not been joining me and this is the first time, I'm doing a 30-day challenge. It is called LEDA, and today is day 16. Um, I hope everybody got their taxes all done and ready to go, or if not, got your extensions done. But yesterday, the 15th, was tax day. So, you know what that means? We are on the second half of this challenge. So, I've been talking a lot about different things about tech, about how to set up, how to do your lives better, how to do anything that I teach about live. It also pertains to any kind of video. I have not talked about shooting because I've been coming live. But the thing is another component of doing good video is you probably hear the buzzword story a lot if you are in any kind of marketing. What is your story? Well, what does having a story, what does that mean? It means how are you going to come across? The other day I did a live about your professionality. And I shared probably in that section, in one of these, I shared about how I came to be part of the video world. And I shared my story of a challenge. I was, I took my challenge and I stepped out in boldness and did something about it. I made a change. The challenge, I took a risk and I made a change. That's part of my story. Um, and I use that story to encourage people to step out and into the waters of I don't feel comfortable stepping out of your comfort zone in order to do. So I also have programs where I encourage people to tell their stories. And I'm going to start talking about that today. In one side, I do it for business. On another side, I do this for families. And so today I'm going to drop the business side and not talk about it, but I want to talk about my program called Living Legacy with Weezy. And what is that? That is you telling a story. Um, we all have pictures like this probably floating around. They may be in a box, they may not even be framed. Um, I happen to know who these people are in this picture, but my children do not. And if my children ever have children, if I'm not around, they're not going to know who these people are. This would have been this was my mother-in-law when she was a little girl, and her brother and her dad. Um, I don't know I don't know the dad's name, but I know her name and I know his name. But that's because I'm familiar. I was around. I heard stories. Somebody else has told me stories, or when she was alive, she shared some of her stories. But if my sons look at this picture, they don't know who this is. And that's the whole thing about living legacy. We want to tell the story of either tell stories of retelling somebody else's story who has gone before us and is no longer here to talk about highlights of their life, not from beginning to end, but different highlights, special moments in their lives, um, special events, special, maybe they had a great career or something like that. But sharing snippets of their life in snippet form videos, but telling their story. When you're telling a story, you want to make it interesting. You don't want to just fill it full of the facts. You want to So in telling a good story, I'm saying this, you want to add some layers and texture, some add a little local color into your story. I was listening to an interview that was given the other day on NPR. There's story corps where you can record your stories and they're shared on NPR. I'm just going to say some of them are good, but some of them are not. And that's the difference of working with me and having me help you tell your stories. Because I'm going to work with you to make sure that you add some interesting elements, you add a little bit of interest to it. So, an example of that, this is my dad when he was a little boy. You're going to see reflection from my screen here, but this is something I have started working with legacy stuff for years. I also, on the side, I love to do art pieces. And this was like a little scrapbook piece that I did for my dad. And my dad was born on a farm. He was probably in the first grade in this picture, but he was born on a farm and tractors and what goes with tractors, there's different springs and rings and you use tape measures, but what does a but you get the gist. It's just a little representation, but there's texture added to the picture by me showcasing it this way. I had given this to him as a Father's Day card, and so it was just really the gray, where you see the gray border. That was all that I gave him, and it was a Father's Day card. And then after he passed, I brought this back home and I added the black and I added the extra scrapbook paper to give it texture like a barn. But, anyways, my dad was born on a farm. My dad was always a farmer. His story was he didn't stay with the family farm. No, he started his own farm. Why? Well, because he was the youngest in his family. And I can't give you times and dates. If I go back and I research it, I can give times and dates to that story. But he was born the youngest son of 9 children. There was one more girl born. So he was number 8. She was number 9. So he was born the youngest son. But he decided he wanted to be a farmer. He wanted to have a farm of his own. So he took steps in order to make that happen. And so he was young. He was married already to my mother. They had 3 children by now. But he would work for other farmers to help them out. He also tested milk, but he worked with one farmer. He tested. He was a milk tester, which you would go on a farm and you would like travel around and you would take milk samples once a month and it would measure different components of the milk to make sure that you were meeting the standards of the milk that needed to be produced. That might not be interesting to everybody, but the thing is it gives a timeline of what he was and what he was doing to become that farmer. So he was working to do this so that he could buy a farm. One of the farmers that he worked with was getting ready to retire. He needed to do something else. I don't know if he got tired of farming. Like I said, I can research this because there's enough people who are alive that I can research into this. But, anyways, for some reason, this farmer wanted to get rid of his farm. My dad bought the farm from him. But he worked diligently to make sure that he could take on the mortgage of this farm. And he did this, he had this farm from 1959 and he retired in the early 80s. So for 40 some years, the thing about my dad is most of the time, all he had female power to help him run his farm. I come from a line of 6 girls. My dad had no sons. The sons that my dad did have were local boys who would come in primarily in the summer to help run the farm. But my dad was a very good farmer and he did things differently. And I could go on with this story, but you know what? It makes me think I want more details. I want more facts. So I'm saying all of this and I'm showing the gaps in the story because when you find the gaps, it gives you opportunity before you hit record to go back and do a little research. It goes back to planning your story. So if you would like to know more about family legacy, just go to my website and look under Living Legacy with Weezy, and you can find the details there. And I'm going to hop off of here today. I have to keep my time tight for my live because I have something else coming on in a few minutes. So, but I want you to start thinking. This is all about you thinking about your story. What elements do you really need to have to do research, to pull into your story? Where was your location? What was the time period? Might be things that you want to know. What were things that were popular? The who, what, where, and why. Those are the elements that you want to fill in the blanks when you're telling your story. What local color do you want to bring into it? So I could say, I did not say, this was in northeastern Pennsylvania. It was rural. Oh, it's still a very picturesque place. It is one place that if I was ever to go to Europe, I think I would be looking to what's probably closest to Europe for the landscape. The farm that my dad bought, it was 270 acres. That's a lot of land. And not all of it was tillable, but most of it was. And for really one person, with some minimal help, my dad was able to run this farm from the day that he purchased it to the day that he retired. But that is just a small snippet of a story of the start of the building of the story, the questions that you need to ask in order to make your story interesting. It could be different for your business, but like I said, today's your personal story. This is part of working with me, with Weezy, for your living legacy stories. So, you have questions, you can go to my website, ask me questions. You can put a comment at here into the feed, ask me a question, or you can direct message me if you're watching this on YouTube. No, on you can leave me ask for questions and comments on YouTube. You can direct message me on Facebook. So, anyways, that's all I have for today, everybody. I hope this makes sense. And like I said, if you have questions, just ask. You want more information about my program? Go to my website and just look under the tab Living Legacy with Weezy. And there's 2 different ways in which you can work with me. So I bid you adieu, and we will be back tomorrow with more about stories on Wednesday with Weezy at 9 a.m. because I come live. Well, it's not always. I will be coming live tomorrow at 9 a.m. So, anyway, have a great day, everybody. Bye.